Immigration fuels the biggest UK population rise in the last 50 years, Ben. This is at the same time as this country freely admits it is skint.
Keir Starmer is embroiled in a scandal that reveals a dark side of his leadership. The bribery leaks are a devastating blow to his credibility, not only as a politician, but as a public figure. It is almost ironic to see how someone who has tried to position himself as an ethical alternative is now facing a storm of accusations. This leaves a deep imprint on public perception, and I'm not surprised that many are asking, who can we really trust? If the allegations prove true, this would be a major blow to the Labour Party, a party that has historically tried to distinguish itself from corrupt practices. But it's not just Starmer's reputation that's at stake here, it's trust in the entire system. British politics has suffered from voter disillusionment for years, and such scandals only reinforce cynicism. It's frustrating to see how powerful figures seem to think they can circumvent the rules. If Starmer is proven to have participated in these acts, it will not only be a blow to his career, but one more example of how power corrupts. Is this the kind of leadership we want to see in the UK? Someone who preaches transparency but is involved in something so dark and dishonest. These leaks cannot be seen as isolated or irrelevant. What they reveal is a political culture that seems to accept that certain behaviors are okay as long as they are not made public. And when they are leaked, the responses of those involved are so predictable: denials, evasions, and empty promises to investigate. How much longer can the public endure before saying enough? Starmer has an enormous responsibility, and not only to his party, but to the millions of voters who trusted him. If this scandal continues to grow, it will be difficult for him to maintain his leadership. This is not a simple political mistake. This goes to the heart of the integrity of his mandate. And at a time when the UK is facing so many challenges, the last thing it needs is a leader caught up in a corruption scandal. What message does this send to young people considering entering politics? That bribery and dishonesty are part of the game? This is not the politics people want to see. And while some may try to downplay the significance of these leaks, the truth is that every new detail that comes to light damages Starmer's image more and more. It is vital that this scandal is thoroughly investigated. You can't sweep under the rug. Transparency and fairness must prevail, not only to clarify what happened, but to show that there are still principles in British politics. Otherwise, what we will see is a further erosion of trust in leaders who should be working for the common good, not for their own benefit.
Shambles of an administration. I don't know why Keir Starmer just doesn't step aside and let Angela Rayner take over, because, like it or not, she is your epitome of social mobility. And the four things that
the Labour Party, which has struggled so hard to restore its image after years of crisis, now faces a monumental challenge. This kind of behavior cannot be allowed to go unpunished. It is a watershed moment, not only for Starmer, but for the entire political class in the UK. The leaks have exposed something many suspected: that even the most prominent leaders are not free from corrupt practices. Politics should be a field where ideas are debated, not a place where hidden deals and under-the-table money determine a nation's future. Keir Starmer has to make tough decisions in the coming days. How he handles this scandal will define his legacy and the future of the Labour Party. Will he go the way of so many other politicians, denying and diverting attention, or will he step forward and face the consequences? It is a key moment for the United Kingdom. Political leaders cannot be allowed to think that they can play by the rules only when it suits them. If Starmer wants to come out of this situation with any respect intact, he needs to be honest and transparent. Otherwise, this scandal will be just the beginning of its downfall. Keir Starmer's situation is not only a stain on his political career, but also a threat to the entire British democratic system. We cannot ignore the danger of allowing such scandals to happen without proper accountability. The public deserves more. If leaders fall into the game of bribes and hidden favors, what is left for ordinary people? Voters trust their leaders to act in their best interests, not in the interests of a privileged few with deep pockets. It is impossible to talk about Starmer without considering the current political context. We're in a time of great uncertainty, with a population increasingly disenchanted with politics. Political leaders have a responsibility to be a beacon of hope, but what we are seeing is quite the opposite. This scandal further fuels cynicism and apathy towards the system. Who is going to want to actively participate in politics when its most prominent figures are involved in this type of deal?
He's been gifted, and who's paid for his wife's clothes? It's a bit like a giant game of whack-a-mole. And it's not about to get easier, because our Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates, has been investigating as part of the Westminster Accounts project at Sam.
Most alarmingly, Starmer's response so far has been weak. full of evasiveness and little substance. Where is the responsibility? Where is the transparency? Leaders must be held accountable for their actions, and in this case, what appears to be a complete denial of the facts. If he continues on this path, his downfall will be inevitable, and confidence in the Labour Party will suffer an even deeper blow. Moreover, this scandal has a scope that goes beyond the reputation of a single man. It has the potential to destabilize the entire political landscape. When such a prominent leader is embroiled in a corruption scandal, the legitimacy of the entire system is called into question. It's a domino effect that can lead to a crisis of confidence in British politics, and that's too high a price to pay. Most worryingly, while politicians are caught up in these power games, the real problems facing the UK take a backseat. The country needs leaders who are focused on solving real problems, the economic crisis, unemployment, homelessness, but instead we have public figures who seem more concerned with protecting their own interests. If we want to see real change, we need to demand more. We cannot settle for leaders who think they are above the law. Politics should be a field of public service, not an opportunity to enrich oneself at the expense of citizens. Every day that passes without a clear and forceful answer from Starmer, the damage deepens. This is a watershed moment. If Keir Starmer does not take responsibility for the accusations he faces, if he does not submit to a thorough and fair investigation, he will lose any chance of redeeming himself in the eyes of the public. The time for political games is over. Transparency, integrity, and accountability must prevail if we are to restore trust in our institutions.
Holiday came after headlines about Keir Starmer accepting substantially more free gifts and hospitality than any other MP. The Education Secretary today defended her free Wimbledon and Taylor Swift tickets.
The most unfortunate thing about this scandal is that it shows how power and politics seem to be increasingly disconnected from the real needs of the people. While Keir Starmer and other leaders are embroiled in these problems, the people who trusted them to improve the country are left helpless. Voters have witnessed countless broken promises from leaders who promise transparency and change but end up caught up in webs of corruption. Every day that passes without a clear solution or a thorough investigation, hopelessness grows. Politicians have failed to represent those who elected them. Not only Starmer, but the entire political class that continues to feed public distrust. Politics should be a means to serve the people, to improve the living conditions of all. But when leaders betray those fundamental principles, the entire system breaks down. This bribery scandal is just one symptom of a larger problem, the lack of integrity in today's politics. Most tragically, the damage done is not just to Starmer's image or the Labour Party. It is a profound blow to democracy itself. If people lose faith in their leaders, if they feel like their voices don't matter because everything is determined by money and shadow deals, what are we left with? What kind of society are we building when those who should be the role models are the first to fall into corruption?